gonna do Talkin Nintendo again. This is just a little discussion about each one of my Nintendo games that I happen to own. Now this one is awesome. This is one that's near and dear to my heart. This is the Goonies 2. Oh yeah. This is one of the few games that... I don't have many games in box, but I have even fewer of these, where I have the manual that stays tucked in to the old case. And we'll put that aside. Whoop. Goonies 2. This game, this was one of the few games I remember playing from when we first got a Nintendo. We got an NES in my house in 1988, Christmas. And it was, I didn't know it then, because I was really little, but the NES had kind of already been around and started tearing things up and become, like, made that really historical impact. And I can only really remember, in those days, a few different Nintendo games. We had that Super Mario Bros. Duck Hunt that everybody had. We had Hogan's Alley, because the Zapper was big in my house. I remember Contra, and I remember somebody coming over with this game. And specifically, this was the first game I ever played where the soundtrack blew me away. Because there was no Mega Man yet, not in my life. I didn't play Mega Man for another couple of years until my older brother bought Mega Man 2 from like a thrift shop. People talk about the system of like how you would go into rooms and you'd have to knock on all the walls, and that was really cumbersome and stuff. It wasn't for me, not in those days, because we were computer guys, right? We were computer guys, and we would take notes, so we knew where things were, right? I would sit and I'd watch my older brothers play, and as they would discover items, so too would I, and then on my playthroughs I'd know where they were. At one point, I could sit down and knock this whole game out in a single setting without worrying about a password or anything like that. I could just knock it out. I can't anymore. I've revisited it since then and tried to do that, and it's all gone. But what an awesome game. What an... I dare say it, it's somewhat of a buzzword here on YouTube. What an underrated game. Severely underrated. Soundtrack was great. The graphics were great. There were a million different locations, right? The caverns were like all painted different colors and stuff, so it was really, there was a lot of discovery involved. You could get all sorts of cool items, right? You could get like these bouncy jump shoes, and you get like super speed shoes and stuff like that. It was a great game. It was really, really good. And I wish I could remember where all the stuff was. This was another game that suffered from long passwords too. I watched my older brothers play. They would get a lot of stuff and they'd have to stop, right? You know, for school or, you know, whatever. So they'd write down their passwords. And I remember trying for like 20 minutes to put their passwords in, but I could never do it. Something about their handwriting, like my brother would make like a D, but the stick part would go down too far because I was too young to interpret things, what he actually meant to write. I was like, that must be a P. And I would just get the passwords wrong because I was like 4 years old and dumb. But that's it. That's Goonies 2. I never did get into the first one. I know there was an original Goonies that didn't come out in the United States, except on the Play Choice 10. That's a game that got really big. I didn't get big, but everybody played that once emulation came out. Nobody knew what the first Goonies was until emulation was a thing, and now everybody knows what it is. But I tried that game. It didn't quite click with me. I only really played it once or twice. That's an awesome game. If you got some time and some patience, which are two things nobody has anymore, Goonies 2. It's really underrated. It's underrated to the point where I bet you could get one for a reasonable price. But that's it. I did a review on this way back, I think in my RetrowareTV run, so probably like 2010, 2011. That did well, and I'm sure it's still up if you guys want to watch that. But until then, that's Talkin Nintendo. I'll see you next week.